This is a really interesting and positive story for what it's worth. But Julian Assange's brother, Gabriel Shipton, will be in attendance tonight at the State of the Union address. Representative Thomas Massie bringing brother of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange to the State of the Union. This from the Lexington Courier Journal. Is it Lexington or Louisville? I don't know. One of them Kentucky journals. He's a representative from Kentucky. I get those cities mixed up because they're in the same state and they both start with an L, and they're the only two real cities in the state, I think. But anyway, whichever journal this is, U.S. Representative Thomas Massie has invited Gabriel Shipton, the brother of imprisoned WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, as his guest for this week's State of the Union address. The Kentucky Republican decided to bring Shipton as part of his message that the U.S. should drop Assange's criminal charges and stop seeking his extradition. Quote, the U.S. government's ongoing effort to prosecute Julian Assange threatens the First Amendment rights of Americans and should be opposed, Massie said in a statement to the Courier Journal. During his term in office, I asked President Trump to pardon Mr. Assange, and I was disappointed by his failure to do so. President Biden should stop seeking Assange's extradition and should instead drop the criminal charges currently being pursued by the Department of Justice. The U.S. wants Assange, 52, sent to the U.S. to face his charges, but Assange's lawyers are trying to stop him from being sent. This month would be the earliest when Assange could find out whether he can challenge extradition. Shipton has advocated for his brother's release, including visiting Washington, D.C. to lobby on Assange's behalf. He is the chair of the Assange campaign, which was organized to support and protect Assange, and has previously said that Assange's charges have driven a wedge between the U.S. and Australia. I am honored to be Representative Massie's guest at the State of the Union address, Shipton said in a statement released by Massie's office. The prosecution of Julian Assange is a direct attack on the First Amendment and the freedom of the press to publish information in the public interest. Representative Massie is a fierce defender of these rights, having introduced legislation that would protect my brother Julian and put an end to the Espionage Act being weaponized against publishers. I hope President Biden can take a new look at the indictment and see it for the threat to democracy that it is. Last year, Massie sent a bipartisan letter to Biden urging him to drop the prosecution of Assange. Senator Rand Paul also signed the letter. Shipton is also a film producer that produced Ithaca in 2021, which highlights their father's journey and fight to free Julian Assange. Here's Gabriel Shipton outside the Day X hearings. This is from WikiLeaks' Dropbox, which they were gracious enough to share with us. So here's a speech of his. This is who we're talking about here.
Hey everyone, thanks again for coming out and braving the weather. Amazing turnout again. It's sort of a bit embarrassing watching the prosecutors in there trying to tell us that day was night and night was day, that Chelsea Manning's not a whistleblower and Julian's not a journalist. They really just brought absolute shame to that court and to the United Kingdom justice system. And this case remains a stain on the US, a stain on the UK, and both governments should be absolutely ashamed of it and what they're doing to press freedom and our rights. Because what was going on in there is the prosecutors telling us that journalism is a threat to democracy. And whistleblowing is a threat to democracy. Our right to know is a threat to democracy. So shame on them and free Julian Assange.
I got to say, in a world with not too many positive developments, the fact that he's going to be in there tonight is one of them. That's pretty cool. And you know what? I hope he does a Jose Vega on the room. I really do. You should get up and fucking say something.
I don't
this
think
is your
he's gonna
chance.
do that.
Well, you should do it.
I mean, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
And
people have done that before. They screamed the "you lie" at Obama. Didn't some of the Democrats yell shit back at Trump, right? And then didn't Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene scream at Biden the first time? Like, that's kind of a State of the Union. That's kind of a thing to do now. It's not really out of bounds anymore. So why not?
Yeah, but I very much doubt Assange's brother. Maybe Massie. That would be nice.
That would be fun.
So, and I just want to point out once again, anytime somebody tells you, well, you have to support Democrats to preserve freedom. So who's bringing Assange's brother?
Yep.
To the State of the Union.
Kentucky Republican.
Not a Democrat.
Kentucky Republican, right?
Not a Democrat. Who is refusing to issue a pardon? Who's refusing to drop these charges? It's not a Republican. It's a Democrat president. It's a Democrat administration. These are the people who are persecuting this journalist. Yes, the case started under Trump. Trump had the opportunity to pardon him. I'm not saying he's better, but these are supposed to be the protectors of liberty and freedom, and we have to stop Trump because he's going to be so much worse. How so? How so? If that's the case, why is Julian Assange being tortured to death in prison right now?
Right. And the fact that he is being brought to the State of the Union by a Kentucky Republican, and that the letter that was released even earlier this year had Marjorie Taylor Greene's signature on it. It also had AOC's signature on it. When we had Misty Winston on while you were in Europe, Russ, one of the things that she found most impressive about the Assange coalition was how cross-partisan it actually is, right? You actually have people from the left and the right who actually can see the truth as clear and as basic and as simple as it is on this issue. So why, if you are one of these squad members, do you cede that ground to the right wing of that coalition? Like where is the left on this issue?
Nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere. You don't see any of the squad members speaking out about this. It's one of those issues you could tell in Washington, like speaking out against the military-industrial complex. You ever see any of them stand up, any of these squad people, and say the words Northrop Grumman, Boeing?
Right. Yeah.
You ever see them say that? Same thing. You'll never see them say Julian Assange. It's one of those things that you're getting into deep state, permanent bureaucracy agenda shit that they will fuck you up for. And yes, I think, the idea of Trump's anti-war bona fides are somewhat exaggerated. Nonetheless, Chuck Schumer, man, he went, as he occasionally does, and said the soft part out loud. Once in a while, he forgets himself. If you mess with these people, they have ways to get you 7 ways to Sunday. He straight out said the unelected intelligence service bureaucrats will attack a president if he is in opposition to them. Like, he just revealed that you don't live in a democracy when he said that.
Right.
Like, all of the conspiracy theories are apparently true, according to Chuck Schumer. If we have intelligence services that a president is not able to rein in, that will retaliate against the president, well, isn't that something we should do something about?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He talks about like that. That's
the Democrats
the way
take comfort
it is.
in that. They take comfort in that. They've relied on that ever since. I was like, oh, good. That's part of what all this lawfare is, right? Not that that's necessarily deep state, because that's in the public record, but same kind of thing. Permanent power mechanisms being used to push back against a leader who represents the will of the people, or our version of the people, right? It's not a popular vote system, but whatever. He's sent there, people send him there, and there are these other people, this group of people that has a check on that. How? Well, we don't know. Just take they have 7 ways from Sunday getting back at you. What do we mean by that? Well, you're on a need-to-know basis about that.
Well, that was one of the most mind-boggling things about the Trump years, and it never really ended. Watching libs, watching people who nominally consider themselves left, we don't, but they do, embracing the CIA, embracing people like, I believe it was John Brennan, who literally got caught spying on the Senate because they were investigating actions of the CIA. Like, really, and then perjuring himself in front of Congress about it. John Brennan's a fucking criminal. He should be in prison. He should be in prison, like clearly. Not the way Nancy Pelosi should be in prison, where Congress passed laws to make insider trading legal for themselves.
So she technically can't be sent there. Right, yeah.
Right. No, I mean literally there are laws on the books where he should be in prison. And you saw all of these libs just because he was part of the Mick resistance. He was anti-Trump. Oh, look at these honorable agents coming out, and they would come and talk about America and defending America. That is fucking incredible. Like, they were always the nemesis of even the liberal class, the CIA and the FBI. And now that's where this is such a weird political moment, because to hear that kind of analysis about the deep state and the crimes of the CIA, you have to look to people like Rand Paul and Thomas Massey if you want to hear that.
Please clap.